The Intel Celeron 1000 and 1100 are some of the fastest options for slot 1 and socket 370 motherboards with a frontside bus of 100 MHz. There is of course the Pentium III with the Coppermine core, but today we are looking at some cheaper alternatives from the Celeron range. The Celeron brand stands for basic processors with reduced performance and features, but at a very low price. The Celeron 1000 and 1100 are the two top models with the Coppermine 128 core and should work with most slot 1 and socket 370 motherboards. A big thank you to Electromine for sending me these two processors. They sell a ton of CPUs, and if you're interested, make sure to use the Phil's Computer Lab voucher for a 20% discount. Details below in the description. Before we take a closer look at these processors and run them through some benchmarks, let's go back in time and see where the Celeron came from and how it developed to this point. The very first Celerons came for slot 1 and ran at 266 and 300 MHz. Now Intel decided to remove the entire level 2 cache on these processors. Initially sales were pretty good because you got an Intel processor for a very good price, so what's wrong with that? But word about the lack of level 2 cache quickly spread and customers chose to avoid the Celeron. So Intel pulled forward the launch of the Celeron 300A, which is a legendary processor known for its tremendous overclocking that let it compete with the most expensive Pentium II processors. It had 128 kilobytes of level 2 cache, however it ran at the full clock speed, whereas the Pentium II had its level 2 cache run at half the clock speed. Over time, faster Celeron processors became available not only for slot 1 but also for socket 370. The fastest slot 1 Celeron runs at 433 MHz, and I've done a video review on the CPU recently, and anything beyond that is only available for the socket 370. But earlier I said the Celeron 1000 and 1100 can be used in slot 1 motherboards. Well, there are some nifty adapters for this problem. Mash together the words slot and socket and you got yourself SlotCat. This is what these socket 370 to slot 1 adapters were called. There are lots of versions around. What you need to look out for is support for the FC-PGA, which stands for Flip Chip Pin Grid Array. More basic adapters only supporting the PPGA, and I believe they will let you use Celerons up to 533 MHz. There are also more advanced adapters supporting the Tualatin Celerons, but they can be harder to find and usually sell for a premium. These adapters usually have jumpers and instructions printed on the PCB, but in most cases you just need to set them to the default settings or auto configuration and it should just work out of the box. Let's take a look at the specifications of these processors. Both are manufactured on the 180 nanometer process and are based on the Coppermine core, however have less level 2 cache compared to the Pentium III. So while the Pentium III comes with 256 kilobytes, these Celerons have to make do with only 128 kilobytes. The cache runs at the full speed, and my observation is that the larger cache on the Pentium III seems to make very little difference. Both processors run at 1.75 volts, and I do recommend that you check for the correct voltage in your BIOS. But again, all of this should happen automatically. Having said that, I did have to manually set the frontside bus and multiplier settings in the BIOS of the 8-bit BH6 motherboard. However, on another motherboard from AOpen, it auto-detected both processors automatically. Compared to the older Celerons, these have the chip flipped, exposing the CPU die, which makes for better cooling, but you also got to be a bit more careful when mounting the processor cooler. Regarding CPU coolers for SlotCats, I recommend getting a model made out of copper and with a shorter height rather than using your standard socket 370 cooler. The model I'm using I bought from StarTech a few years ago and it works very well, although the fan runs quite fast and makes a bit of noise. Well, the music started to play, so I guess it's time to look at some benchmark results and see how this processor compares to the other CPUs that we've reviewed in the past. Well, the performance of these processors are without a doubt impressive. They don't have much competition in the charts yet, but don't worry, I will always review more CPUs as time goes on. A fun fact with 3D Bench is that it can only display 3 digits. In Doom we're hitting a wall. I know that game quite well, and after a certain point it just doesn't scale anymore. Impressive is the performance in Quake. We're getting 70 to 73 FPS even at the higher 640 by 480 resolution. The Windows benchmark results are just as impressive. Most games scale really well. It's only in GLQuake that we seem to be running into some sort of limitation. So you might be asking, what can you do with such a retro gaming PC? Definitely, you can enjoy the later Windows 98 games with very smooth frame rates. This machine is best paired with a more powerful video card as well. Some cards that I see suitable are, for example, the GeForce 2 or GeForce 3, a Radeon 8500 or a 3DFX Voodoo 5 if you want some glide compatibility as well. Now you might also be wondering if you aren't better off just going with a socket 370 motherboard, and that is a great option. However, pretty much all slot 1 motherboards come with ISO slots, which gives you the best compatibility with DOS sound cards. Of course, we will check out socket 370 at some stage, and there are socket 370 boards with ISO slots. There are just fewer models of them, and you might have to spend some time hunting them down. On the flip side, you do get faster IDE controllers, as well access to faster processors and the 133 MHz frontside bus. So there you have it, guys. These top-end Celeron processors are well worth checking out. Ample of performance and a good alternative to the Pentium 3. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more content like it, why not subscribe if you haven't done so already? If you have, well, thank you for supporting me. Leave me a comment down below. What are your thoughts on these Celeron processors? And that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you soon with another video.